Hello, welcome to another episode with Nathan and his lawn improvement project. This is the ATC at Home show. Welcome, Nathan.
Thanks for having me again.
We have not talked for a couple months, but you've been doing a lot of work in your lawn. You put the fertilizer app, the first fertilizer application based on that soil test and based on the condition of your lawn, you put that down in early June. And we're recording this now 2 months later. So let's talk a little bit about the process that you went through to put down that ammonium sulfate, that 2100.
Okay, well,
If you remember.
going back, going back. I don't remember the exact amount, but I remember, I weighed out the fertilizer for the back, and then I weighed it out for the front, and had a spreader, and I did like a pattern one way and then the other way, and then both again, just because I had it on probably too low of a setting to spread. And then I made sure to keep it away from the sewers and
Thank
things
you.
and keep it just on the grass, and put that in. And then I gave it a really good watering right after, which turned out really good because it kind of rained, I think, within 24 hours after that, as well. So it seemed to respond. I think, I don't know if it was the time of year or if it was the application, but it seemed to cause some growth in the grass.
Well, that
And so, yeah, I think the mowing frequency started to increase a little bit,
yeah.
which is fine.
So that was in early June when you made that application, and then you watered it in. You went camping for the weekend. You came back, and you sent me some pictures. And honestly, my response when I saw those pictures was, for this time of year and after that fertilizer application, which was more than a gram of nitrogen per square meter. Well, you know what? I'm going to check our message and see exactly what rate we went at. It might have been a little bit less than a gram.
I know we divided the total amount into 3 applications, I think you said, right? So
Right. So we did. So the plan was to do. We texted on June 6th. You had that bag of ammonium sulfate, and we were talking about how much water to put out, and we were going to put one application in the late spring, early summer, and we were going to put one application in late August and one application in mid to late September.
yeah, yeah.
Right. I think we went with 2.5 grams of nitrogen per square meter. So that is a substantial amount of nitrogen. That's a half pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. So after that application, I thought, man, you've put that down, and the color of the grass just didn't quite look like I expected after that much nitrogen. So that visual cue combined with the close-up pictures that showed there's still a lot of clover in the lawn, and I thought, man, we need to make that grass grow some more. So I updated my recommendation, and I said, in early July, could you put another fertilizer application? And it's my understanding that you were able to get that done in mid-July or late July. Did you put a second application out?
Correct. I did. I may or may not have read that message, and then and then when I noticed, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was just after mid July. I think
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of it, somewhere in there, that second application was done, and I didn't water it in because I put the application on quickly as there was a storm rolling in.
Oh,
And
good
so I
call.
had to quickly do the front. I did the back, and then I had to quickly do the front because it started coming down. And so it downpoured for a couple days on and off. So it worked out really great for timing
Nice.
for that application. And then, I mean, since then, the grass is growing fast and furious. I don't know if it's that application or just we've had a lot of rain in the last month.
Mm-hmm.
I would say more than normal. And so it's been like I cut it, and then a day or two later, it looks like I didn't cut it.
Okay.
And
Well,
so, which
that's
is very odd for here. And then, so it probably needs a good cutting, like, 3 to 5 day time frame. So every 4 days or so.
mm-hmm.
Um, but if I can get out, sometimes it's raining when I, have time to do it or whatnot. So sometimes it's like 4, sometimes it's 5 or 6, but um, I don't know if it's better to let it grow a little longer and help it with the clover, if that's going to work better, or
I don't
keep
know.
it at the
I'm
height
gonna show
that you
some.
recommend.
I'm gonna show some pictures of the lawn now. This was in late May. The picture that I'm showing now, which is a close up that has a lot of clover in it, and then these are the photos from June that showed after the first fertilizer application, and it just wasn't greening up the way that I wanted. And you've been updating me with pictures that you've been sending through the summer, and this was in June, late June. It just, the color and the growth rate wasn't quite what I was expecting um, for a lawn of the caliber that we're trying to achieve. And then it was a little bit dry in early July, and I'm just like, man, you either need some rain or you need to get some irrigation out there, but you need to make the grass grow more. And then here's what it looks like right now, which is a photo you sent me just a couple days ago. So this is a slideshow that's gone back now to late May, and if we look at just what it looks like now, which is going to be the photo that's going to show at the end, and then I'll change the scene and take that slideshow away. You'll see with that final image that that's the type of look that we're looking for. The way that your lawn looks right now, Nathan. And does your front lawn look a similar color? Is it greener than your neighbor's lawns?
I would say, yeah. I would say, yeah.
Oh, nice. Have you gotten any compliments?
Not yet, but I'm working on it. I'm working
Okay.
on it.
Bill, I would say if it has the kind of color like you have now, so here's what it looks like now, and that is a nice color, and you're having to mow that a couple times a week, and I think that it's a little bit more work than you want, but unfortunately to have grass, I think we need to push the growth a little bit. So I would say that is successful. You're cutting with the sharpened mower blade that you got sharpened, so you're getting a good quality of cut. We know that there's plenty of phosphorus and potassium and other elements there in the soil. We know that you have a good pH, and we know there's a lot of organic matter in the soil. That's why I'm not recommending so much fertilizer in this kind of midsummer, because when it rains, there's a lot of nitrogen mineralization that comes from that organic matter that becomes plant available. And so it's something that we're going to do to try to push a little bit of growth as the days get shorter and as the temperatures start cooling down, that in late August and in let's say mid-September, I think September 20th, I'm recommending that app. So you put down half the nitrogen that you're going to put for the year, and then you'll do it again twice. So I think what you'll see with these next two applications, because the temperatures are cooler and the days are shorter, it's going to stimulate a lot of root growth, hopefully stimulate some new plants, and it's not going to stimulate so much leaf growth that you're going to have to be mowing all the time.
Okay.
That's
good.
That's the idea. You haven't been keeping track of how many mows this year, have you?
No, I should have. I should have, because that it's been good though. I listen to a podcast, get a little workout in, extra steps.
It,
Had a little bit of issue with the mower. Actually, it was kind of like chugging here and there, and luckily my brother's a mechanic, so he came over and and fixed it up for me. So it's purring like a kitten and ready to go.
oh, good.
So we
Now
can keep that thing going.
that's good. Well, it's good to have that type of expertise handy. Now, um, you are mulching the clippings, aren't you?
Correct. Yeah.
And when the dandelions were blooming in the spring, did you collect the clippings and discard them?
Yes. Yeah. So there was about I can't remember how long of a period, a few weeks anyway, where um, mowing was a little less frequent then as well. But yeah, I bagged those clippings and got rid of those.
Okay.
Um, I
And
don't. I think I'm okay to keep mulching now.
I think
Like,
so.
is it
I
okay?
just
Yeah.
I don't want weed seeds to be proliferating and then you mulching the weed seeds back down. But as long as you're just mulching leaves, even if it's clover leaves, but leaves of grass or leaves of clover or leaves of dandelion, I don't care. Go ahead and mulch those. But if there's seeds, collect them, please. So
Okay.
I suppose the only seeds that you've seen have been the dandelion ones, right?
Yeah.
And then have you had some activities on the back lawn? Any soccer played? Dog running around? Fetch?
A lot of that. No more skunks since the last incident back there. Some pool water discharge back there.
That
But
doesn't cause
the
a problem, does
backyard,
it?
no, I don't think so. I mean, I can't. I'm not the expert, but there is a few different shades of green in the back, but I don't think that has anything to do with the pool water. But um, it's definitely it grows a lot faster in the back than the front.
But you've
And
got that big
it's
tree.
softer.
You've got that big tree in the front that throws shade, and it's got a big root system that will be sucking the water.
Yeah. So, which is fine because it still gets mowed at the same time, but um, it's just not as I would say thick or lush or whatever as the back is. But yeah, a couple little holes from the dog throughout the year, but other than that, it's been pretty good back there. Actually, really good.
Well, that's good. So it's as far as the backyard goes, it's meeting the objectives of what you're trying to use it for.
Correct.
And
Yeah, it's been great.
the front lawn, by your assessment, it looks greener than the neighbors, and you're pretty happy to pull into your driveway and see that your lawn looks like that.
Yeah, I mean, even the last month we've had quite a bit of rain, but before that, when we're kind of going through some of those heat waves, it'd be very common to pull into the driveway and have like a brown lawn or brown sections of the lawn, and that just hasn't been the case this year, which is surprising because really I've only watered it, I think, once once um, after
Wow.
that one application. So I mean, uh, that's a significant difference is the fact that it's not really drying out when we're in between some heavy rain. So
Wow. I wonder maybe you're just growing a bit more roots, and maybe we timed the nitrogen right to get some more roots, and then maybe the grass is able to utilize a bit more from the soil. But you have had some timely rains this summer also, so
yeah,
that's
yeah,
probably the main
correct.
thing. Yeah.
I think so.
Well, I guess our next steps are gonna be. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna double check the rates. I think you've put down 2.5 grams of nitrogen per square meter twice. which comes to 5 grams of nitrogen per square meter. And there was a little bit of confusion there. Maybe we'll talk, if you understand that yet, or maybe we can talk over it, about the rate of nitrogen versus the rate of fertilizer, because you're applying a product that's 21% nitrogen.
Right.
And I was saying you initially had calculated it as 2.5 grams times this number of square meters that your lawn was. And I said, no, you have to divide it by the nitrogen percentage. You have to divide it by 0.21, or basically you have to multiply it times 5. So you have to apply 5 times as much fertilizer, because I'm trying to figure out how much nitrogen to put, and this product is only 21% nitrogen.
Correct.
And that didn't make sense to you initially. Does it make sense now, or is it still a mystery?
It does make sense now, yeah, because you were giving me the number of nitrogen to put, not necessarily the amount of product to put on.
That's right.
So that's where the confusion was, and then it's like, okay, well, to get that amount of nitrogen, the product's 20%, basically 20.
Mm-hmm.
So then that made a lot of sense. But yeah, when you first gave me the number and I ran the calculation, you were like, no.
yeah. I was like,
what do you mean? Like, I think the math is good. You're like, no. And I was like, oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's good. So that makes sense. And I suppose,
we missed a little potential disaster for sure.
Well, you would have ended up under applying. But the main problem is, if you apply that little fertilizer, there's no way to spread it evenly. Because you were talking, you'd come up with something that would have just been like a handful of material. And I'm like, how? There's no way, unless you dissolve it in water and spray it as a very dilute solution. There's really no way to apply that as a granule. So that's perfect that you can spread it and go over the lawn a couple times in a couple different directions. That's good. And then the watering, did that work okay? I said to put 5 millimeters of water, or 5 liters of water per square meter, which happens to be 5 millimeters of water per square meter. I think because of timing, maybe we adjusted that down to 3 or 4 liters per square meter. That was also something that we had to use a little bit of math. And you said, whoa, how can I do this? And you said, well, the city tells me that I'm getting delivered this much water per minute. And I said, that's what the city delivers, but that's not what comes through your hose. And you said, well, how can I figure out what comes through my hose? And I said, set a timer and measure how many liters come out in 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute.
Right.
And did you do that? And was that simple enough?
Yeah. So, I got a bucket and, once again, you were correct. It was a little bit off from what the city was saying. I mean, it could be something to do with the hose nozzle, whatever that using as well could slow it down a little bit, but it was definitely not the rate that the city's suggesting. So, I did a few buckets just to confirm the timing, so it wasn't just like a one-shot time. So I filled a few buckets just to kind of get that average time, which I can't remember what it was. But then what I did is I took the lawn, I broke that down into quarters, into 4 different sections. And then from that, I broke it down into 4 different sections and spent time just so that I was kind of, it set like a little timer on my watch to make sure I would have the right amount of time in that grid. Mm-hmm. And that worked really well, because if I didn't do that, I would, probably go too quickly in one area, because it was happening. I was like, oh, I should be moving on to the next section. And no, still got, a minute left or whatever it was. And then a couple times kind of moved it in that grid a little quicker, because, I wanted it to be able to soak up and not just run off from that area as well. So breaking it down into those mini sections, I felt really helped me stay on track anyway. So that worked really well.
Good, because you don't have an automatic irrigation system, and to
not yet.
Yeah. Well, I think a nice
When
up.
you come visit the next time, we can maybe work on installing that or something if you
Yep.
want to. But
Yeah, I want to work on installing a robotic mower charging station and figure out
I
how.
want you to work on that as well.
Yeah, because I think a robotic mower would be so good because then you could fertilize a little bit more and you could be sitting on the pool deck listening to a podcast, watching the mower go instead of out there mowing it yourself. So,
Yeah, that
yeah.
sounds amazing.
I think that would be a nice upgrade. But I think you're in a pretty good position. It's way better than when I was there in the snow in March, and there was not so much grass then. And when the snow melted, the grass was pretty thin, and the grass has really thickened up a lot. And you've only applied half the nitrogen that you're going to apply this year. So I think we'll make big strides by the end of this year, and I'll be really interested to see how it is next spring. Um, if you notice next spring that there is considerably more grass, and I think one thing that I'm going to think about too is grass seed. If you could maybe put down some seed this autumn, because autumn for your climate, autumn is the best time to spread some
Okay.
seed. So you don't really have so many thin spots from the photos that you've been sending.
Not really. I mean, maybe the front has a few. I find it mostly just where the weeds are really like when the clover is there. It's kind of I don't want to say sparse because I mean the grass is still there and the clover's there, but it doesn't. It's not really that thin. No.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just when you put nitrogen, it's going to preferentially favor grass over clover. And the thing
okay.
is, it just takes time. So the kind of the standard way is people will put herbicides, and you will kill the weeds, and then that creates space that the
Okay.
grass can grow in. And you either add seed or you just add fertilizer, and the grass fills in that open space. But we're trying to do this without applying herbicides and just see how good we can get this lawn. And so, but your clover
And is there
looks.
anything else I can do for the clover, or just let the grass and
Mm,
nitrogen go?
oh, I suppose if you harvested the clippings, it would favor the grass also. But I don't want to make you do that extra work. Um, and
Okay.
but yeah, if you could acidify the lawn, and if you could harvest the clippings, it would just make the nutrient availability to the clover lower. But that's a very
Gotcha.
long-term process, and I think what you're doing right now with the ammonium sulfate fertilizer, that already is an acidifying fertilizer. You already are collecting the clippings at some times of the year. So I would just proceed with that. And I mean, you could certainly irrigate when it gets dry like it did in July, because there was that one time when you had dry in the
Yeah.
front, dry in the back. If you could put water and just keep the grass growing, that might help it. But putting water is going to help the clover too. So yeah,
Right.
I don't know that
Yeah.
that would be favoring the grass.
Okay.
But it's it looks to me like a nice lawn. I'm just maybe you need to put stripes in the front lawn or something. So I just want you to start getting compliments from the neighbors. So you live on a street that's kind of a half circle or a D shape,
Yeah.
like it's a curve. How
It's
do you
a
call
yeah.
that?
It's I mean, it's not a dead end circle, but it's just a loop. I would say it's just a street that kind of loops or back around to another street.
With
So the
like 10,
only
5 homes?
traffic are people that
Yeah.
yeah.
But you got
Well,
five homes
the
on
loop's
your
bigger, but there's five on our section at least. Yeah. Yeah.
side, 5 on the other, maybe. So
Uh, there's there's actually three on our side, but there's five because the other two are on a corner on the sideways.
okay.
Yeah, there's
I'm
five,
I'm
and
just
then
I'm
across
just
the street from us, there's about 10.
okay. So I'm just kind of thinking on that street, if you look at the neighbors' lawns, is there anybody that's got a better lawn than you in the front lawn, just by visual appearance? But
I would say no.
yeah, I would.
I
Good. So, but how would it have been last year? Would somebody have a better lawn than you last year?
Yeah, I mean, around the corner there's a few nice lawns. I think they have some companies come and deal with it a little bit, but yeah, I mean, last year we'd be like middle of the pack, I think,
Mm-hmm.
if that.
Kind
Um,
kind of like the Pittsburgh Penguins last year.
yep, I would
Yeah.
say so.
So, um, but this year you're the best on the street. You would think. Yeah,
I think so.
there's not a lawn that would look better to your eye. Well, that's good to hear. I
I
want
don't
it
think
to
so.
be. I would like to a little bit of wow. So maybe you have to start looking at mowing patterns or something.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I will. I think that's a good idea.
and I think right. So what I need to get back to you about um, is the updated fertilizer rates and schedule, which I think is going to be the same as what I previously recommended. And I'll consider whether we should put seed or not. I think maybe we'll try just to add some in some of the clover uh, heavy areas. We may try that, but I don't know where you get good seed. Maybe I'll ask my golf course friends in
I
that
think,
area.
yeah, I'm assuming the same place that I got the
Yeah. So tell me about that. Also, there may be some people wondering where they can get ammonium sulfate. Where did you get it?
yeah. Good question. I think it was Niagara Growers. I will send that information to you of the name of the business in the area, but it was a farm supply um, location here in Lincoln, and yeah, they had it ready to go. So
Awesome. And it
tons of different options, and
reasonable price.
yeah, oh yeah. Goodness, I can't remember. $30 or something like that. I mean,
Nice. Yeah.
they're a
So
huge bag.
so
I think
mostly
they were shocked that I only wanted one bag. Um,
yeah, I'm sure.
but I think they asked me 3 different times how many I wanted. But I think they're not used to the typical lawn guy coming in for a bag of fertilizer. But yeah, they're very helpful.
Okay. Good. Well, that I'm glad you could get that, and I'm glad like when you put that first application in June and then you sent me the photos in late June, I'm like, man, even the color response just wasn't what I was expecting. Ammonium sulfate at that rate, I would expect to green things up. Finally, you're getting it, and I think these next two applications are just going to keep it with that nice color through the end of the year, and you'll have some nice healthy grass plants. So we'll I will send you some messages or an email or something, and maybe we'll check in again in September, in between the applications, and record another episode after you've made the third fertilizer application of the year, prior to the fourth one, and maybe, man, we could even go live in your backyard. We could record from your. We could record. You could be on your phone, and you could just
Yeah,
be in the backyard and show us how good that lawn is looking.
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Oh well, let's talk about
As
that.
long as it's looking good.
As long as it's looking good. Well, it's been getting better all year, and I think it may just keep getting better. And I think as the temperatures cool down, the growth rate's going to slow. So hopefully we can get you back to mowing every 5 or 7 days. Because right now you're saying you need to mow 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah, twice
Okay.
for sure. Yeah.
Oh, and you asked about the mowing height. You're
Mhm.
You're at about 2 inches.
I think so. Yeah. I can send you some pictures of it just after it's cut as well.
Because
I
you,
think in the past, I would sometimes take it a little bit lower, um, but the lawnmower, the lawn is uneven in some spots, so sometimes the mower has a bit of trouble there. But I mean, I don't know. I just thought my thought process was if I kept it longer, maybe that would help choke out some of the clover quicker, but maybe not. Maybe it's
I think
does
it.
the opposite effect.
No, I think it will, and it certainly should help against most weeds. I think I was recommending that you mow at 6 centimeters, 6 or 7,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you wanted it to be okay for soccer. So for playing soccer, you kind of want it shorter. So I thought, um, 6 or 7 centimeters is a happy medium, because it'll be a slow type of soccer surface, but that's fine in a small area. You don't want the ball to be moving too fast.
That's
The
right.
nice thing about the higher mowing height for me, well, there's a number of benefits, but it does help to shade out the weeds, favor grass over some of those weeds. But the main thing is you don't have to mow it so frequently, because to have a good lawn that's less than 5 centimeters, less than 2 inches, you have to mow it more frequently. But if you get up to 2.5, 3 inches, you don't have to mow it as frequently. The grass actually will grow a little bit slower, and that's one of the main reasons why I was recommending to cut it at 6 or 7 centimeters.
Okay.
So why
Okay.
don't you check that and make sure you are mowing it at that height, and let it look at how high you can set your mower. Um, and you may notice that you can go from having to cut every 2 or 3 days, or I mean, cut 2 or 3 times a week. And you may notice
Yeah.
that by increasing the mowing height, the growth rate slows down a little bit, and you can get by with 5 or 6 days between mowings, even when you've put that fertilizer and you've gotten all this rain and it's growing really, really well.
Okay. I'll double check that.
Okay. Any more questions before we sign off?
I mean, other than when are you going to come help me mow? I think we're good.
Yeah, I would love to. I'm looking forward to it. It seems like I often end up going there in the winter. So
Yeah.
I certainly enjoy seeing your lawn through the photos you've been sending. And I am really glad that we've had a chance to work on this project. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that it's finally showing some positive results. So
Yeah. Thanks,
keep
my
keep
guys.
up the
We
good work.
appreciate your help, and our lawn appreciates it as well. So it's been a fun project, and it's crazy to see the difference in like a couple months, right? So it's
That's
been good.
yeah. That's That's good. That is good, and I think we're really setting it up good for next year also, and we're just trying not to make any stupid mistakes. So we'll make sure we get those fertilizer rates correct,
That's right.
and apply the right product at the right time at the right rate, and we will make this into. So it's so good to hear that it's already uh, the the lawn that's looking the
Yeah.
best on that street. So that's really what
Yeah.
we're trying to achieve. So yeah, just get
Okay.
that clover down a little bit, favor the grass a little bit more, and we will transform that lawn.
Okay. Well,
All right.
thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks, Micah.
Bye bye.